Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine Krnjetin and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
Guys, we have a wonderful guest from exotic Hawaii today on the Agent Upgrade Podcast. Kelsey Charles of Compass. Wow, talk about skyrocketing her business quickly, Jasmine. What a great episode.
Yeah, 30 million, and she's been in business for 2.5 years. That is amazing.
Yes. Pay attention. I kept calling it 3.5 years. I don't know why I had that stuck in my head, but she did this success in 2.5 years, and from nothing. And she started, in her story, you're going to hear her story in this episode, really overcoming some obstacles, starting from zero to grow a team, and quickly have done that in 2.5 years. So whenever I keep saying 3.5, it's 2.5 years. That's how amazing Kelsey is, and she's killing it in Hawaii. And really, she used one social media tool to get there, and it's really interesting how she's utilized that to really grow her business.
It's amazing. Yeah, she's very, very inspiring. You know, she's a mom. She works with her husband, and we learn some nitty gritty on maybe how we can all just chill and have an amazing business.
Yeah, that sort of chilled out attitude seems very fitting for Hawaii, and she's made it work for her, and really has created a dream business, I would imagine, for any realtor, a lifestyle to go with a successful business. So. Thanks for checking out Agent Upgrade. You're in for a phenomenal episode here with Kelsey Charles. So let's get to it. Kelsey Charles, thank you for joining us all the way from Hawaii.
Yes, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
I got to admit, it seems pretty good to be doing real estate in Hawaii, at least for I'm in Atlanta. That seems like sort of a dream gig. Is it?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. I actually moved here when I turned 18, and I met my husband here when I was in college. I was like 21, and he was in the Navy. And we decided to get married. We wanted to stay here the rest of our lives. And he ended up retiring from the Navy early, got a medical retirement, and we actually moved to Tallahassee, Florida. So we bought a house there. Wasn't like the best fit for me after living in Hawaii. No offense. He told me Florida would be like Hawaii, but cheaper. And it wasn't.
No.
So I'm like, okay, we have to go back. Like, please bring me back to Hawaii. That's where I want to go. Like, I promise, I'll make a good life for us. Like, I understand, like, I have to earn an income now that he's out of the military. So we moved back, and after a few years, made it happen. And now he has joined me in real estate as my assistant.
Oh, nice.
Excellent.
Okay, yeah. So,
I love it.
So you've got a team out there. And were you doing real estate in Florida before you did real estate in Hawaii?
No, I wasn't. This is actually like my first real job ever.
Okay.
It just kind of fell into my lap. Well, when we moved back to Hawaii, I was like a month pregnant, and I didn't even know. So we already had a 3-year-old kid. We'd signed a lease for a 2-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, like maybe 700 square feet, like generously. It barely had air conditioning. So when we moved back, we knew that I'd have to work. But when I am pregnant, I get this disease called hyperemesis, where I pretty much throw up like 20 times a day, like not exaggerating.
Oh,
so I couldn't really function, right? So that was really a tough time for us. Like, I would be Ubering, chasing like $20 rides just to get enough to like eat for the day. That's if we could figure out how to get gas in my gas guzzler. So did that for a while. I was following this lady on Facebook who was a real estate agent, and her life looked like way cooler than mine. I mean, she was living her best life, going on staycations. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get my real estate license. And my husband was like, you know what? That totally makes sense for you. Like, with your personality, you're good with people. My college background was in social work and sociology.
Wow.
So I decided to get my real estate license. And then kind of the rest is history from there. I joined a brokerage, sold $12.2 million my first year. Second year, went over to EXP and did $25 million my second year. And this year, I think we're on track to hit about $30 million.
Wow,
That's amazing.
I'm already excited to dig deeper into all of this. All the agents listening to this and be like, they're what they had to overcome and where they started, and this is going to be a great story. So, to start, I guess is the business in Hawaii like the vacationers, the second home buyers, or is it a lot of the starter home people who move up to something larger like you would see everywhere? Yeah.
So I'm on Oahu, which is the most populated island. It's where all the military bases are: Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, everybody. I hope I'm not leaving out. Oh, Navy, obviously, the one my husband was in, right? So that is like VA military buyers who move here on a relocation. There are some realtors who their whole business is second homes, vacation rentals, luxury. I'm more like not low end, but like middle of the road, kind of like single family homes for like families who it's either their first or second home investment.
That's awesome. And so you're hitting huge numbers, but you're working. You must be doing great volume then.
Yeah, for sure. So, my average sale now is about 800,000. My first year was about 500,000.
Okay.
And
That's
most
great.
of the difference in price is just because the market has changed here, like it has everywhere. But a lot of condo people are being driven into the suburbs, and the same thing happened with myself. We were actually renting a condo in the city, and we were paying like $4,200 a month in rent, and felt like we were struggling because during the pandemic, like everything shut down. So we had like this tiny space, the elevators were going out all the time, and the pool, like all the rec stuff, the whole benefit of living in a condo and having amenities shut down, right? Why are we paying $4,500 a month with like rent and utilities to feel like we aren't living well, right? So I found a rental in Eva Beach, and we were just prepping so we could buy our first home. It took me 2 years as a realtor to, of course, qualify to get a mortgage. So found a bigger home, garage, backyard. We're a lot happier with that, and I'm seeing the same thing in a lot of my clients. Those people that would have been fine with like something in the city are less okay with that now. So we have very few affordable single-family homes on Oahu. So most people have been driven to the west side, which is the new development like Eva, Kapolei, and Makakilo.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I guess that's just my ignorance where I was thinking every property in Hawaii is on the beach. But of course there's the city and of course there's the suburbs.
It's nice to think that way too, and I think a lot of my clients assume that. I get military families that hit me up like, hey, we want a house on the beach, probably everyone's house is on the beach, our budget's like $3,000, and I'm like maybe like a 1-bedroom condo, if you really like squeezed in your budget to like make it work, it'd still be over $3,000 a month. That's if you put no money down. But most of my clients with the VA loan, now that there's no cap anymore, don't put money down, even on like a $1.5 million home.
So there's no cap purchase price on the VA loans.
There's not anymore. There's just a cap for lenders, right? So like their underwriters only want to do maybe like $2 million no down, but other than that, there's no like you could spend theoretically $8 million and not put any money down,
right?
As long as you qualify on cash flow and income and assets.
That's awesome. That's great. That's a good program. Yeah, to utilize that
for sure.
Property in Hawaii. So what would you say is how did you get from 20 million your first year, like from zero to this?
It was 12 million my first year.
12 million,
and then so I think part of it is like I said, I was really sick when I was pregnant, and I was just like so stuck at home. I was super bored. I wanted to do more. And it was finally like my moment to get out of my shell and like go talk to people again. All I wanted to do was like talk to everyone that I met. So that's what I did. And then I did like a Facebook presence, which is how I met other realtors in Hawaii too, right? So now my clients pretty much find me all on Facebook.
I like that.
And so you're very engaging on Facebook. How much time do you spend on Facebook, would you say? Is it a daily thing, a weekly thing?
Yeah, probably 6 hours a day. And it shouldn't have to be, but I just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're talking real estate and people like We found each
Yeah.
other on Facebook. That's how we found
Yeah.
each other. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's not even just real estate. It's just like making relationships. I'll kind of interact with people who I think might be relocating, live here, maybe need to buy one day. Maybe they have a real estate problem. I just want them to know who I am. It's not that I'm necessarily selling all the time. It's kind of a long game. So it's not like it happened overnight, but some people I'll talk to like a year before they make a move with me.
Are you buying ads or are you just running your
No.
Facebook page? Yeah.
So I never really got anything from my page, like the business page officially, but I have a Facebook group where I basically collect information. You know, when you join a Facebook group, they ask you like 3 questions, like, do you agree to our rules? A couple different things. Maybe they get your email. So I did that with real estate leads, where I asked for email, phone number, and kind of what they're looking for in a home. And then when I was really busy, I had an ISA team reaching out. They would text them, set an appointment right to my calendar. I would show up on the call, see if it was a good fit. And then I just got so overwhelmed with that I took off that service. So I kind of just pick people that are like raising their hand, like, hey, I want to work with you. I've heard of you, like you're the one for me, rather than just answering every general inquiry.
So how would somebody find their way to your page?
So if they're interacting with like Zillow, any moving pages, any other groups, once you get over a certain amount of members in your Facebook group, it organically shows it in their timeline in like their sidebar. So you can just click join group. It's automatically suggested to you by the Facebook algorithm.
Very nice.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
So that's one way. Other ways are me being in military spouse groups, relocation groups, adding people, anyone who I think is like an interesting person, might want to have a relationship with in the future. I get leads from realtors on the mainland and even loan officers on the mainland as well.
So this is also, I assume most realtors focus only on their island, right? You're not flying clients to different islands and everything.
I'm not. I would love to at some point, honestly. As I get more into luxury, I think the commute would make sense. But right now, I'm still kind of learning Oahu. Like I have certain areas where I'm a total expert in, but I don't want to go serve someone in the biggest purchase of their life when I'm just winging it, right? Like it's not just about me. I want them to have solid representation because you don't know what you don't know, which is why realtors exist, right? So I don't think it necessarily makes sense for me at this point. At some point in my career, I could see that being a possibility, though.
So you had an inside sales assistant, and now you have your husband helping you. Is there other members of your team, or is it just you and?
No. No, I have a team. I have 3 buyers agents, and they can do listings as well. They mostly focus on buyers right now. My husband is our admin, transaction manager, just the coordinator behind the scenes. He can show houses, open doors, write contracts. But I really do the job of like going out and getting the business.
Yeah, the lead generation from Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, for sure.
And you mentioned moving groups, and military groups on Facebook. But I think we connected in real estate investing groups as well.
Yeah.
So you definitely have a presence, and it's not just running your own page and say, "Look at me, look at me." It's you're adding to dialogue. You're adding to the conversation. You're adding value to other people's Facebook pages as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely the goal, is not to just make it about me, right? Is to have conversations that are engaging. I do want to add value, right? I don't want to just be there to pick off the sales, because my business comes to me because I'm not a salesperson so much, right? More that I'm just a consultant. Clients like me, I give them the facts. I don't really push them either way. I figure they'll come back to me when they're ready to make a move because I wasn't pushy. And that's not really the goal. The goal is to have the most relationships rather than the most close sales, because one kind of feeds the other without having to think too much about it.
So some of the people that we talk to about, like, they'll have like social media teams or strategies, and it's like you post this on Tuesdays and you do this on Wednesdays. Do you have any kind of a set schedule that you follow? Do you have like a marketing team that helps you with that, or is it just more organic, just like you hanging out?
It's just organic. I post when I feel like I have something to say. Like, of course, I would love to stay in their feed, but I don't want to wear out my welcome either, right? I don't want to just be like, oh, it's Tuesday, let me post about tacos. Nobody cares to hear about like events or holidays from realtors. No offense, but like that constant contact stuff. thanking everyone. I'm like in there because like I have a reason to be. I want them to not unfollow me because they're seeing too much of me. I want it to be like, wow, every time she speaks, like I want to listen, not just that she's there to talk about a holiday or something that's not relevant to me. Like I'm there to add value and be there purposefully. I'm also a real estate investor, so I've been networking in groups for that reason too. I'm buying a property in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm originally from Wisconsin, and eventually would like to build that up as well so I could kind of live between the two places and have my investments in Wisconsin and then do my sales in Hawaii.
Oh, that's great.
I like it.
Yeah. So when did you know to hire, I guess, your first team member? Like when at what point were you like, this is the time?
Sure. So I probably should have done it earlier. I just didn't want to do anyone wrong. And I wish in a way that I would have started out on a team so I could have had a faster way to success, right? I think I lost a lot of opportunities because I couldn't get a fast answer from a broker or whoever was supposed to be there supporting me. Like as a team leader, I really helped my team members with conversions that could possibly be otherwise lost. But it was the point where I'm like, wow, I have 8 escrows. They're all buyers. I have a lot of leads. I want people to be served well, and I can't necessarily follow up with everyone. And that's when I realized it was time to scale and bring on more team members with my philosophy about real estate.
That's great. Yeah. I think that seems to be a common refrain for those agents that are listening to this podcast. It's, I should have done it earlier. Like, you feel those pain points, but I understand. I went through that too, where it's like, I don't feel secure enough to give away some of my commission, and I don't want to waste someone's time, right?
Exactly. And it's hard to know really when that perfect time is because, there's books about it, there's brokerage support, but there's no real roadmap, right? Everyone's journey is different. And then there's times that I brought on too many people and I'm like, well, like I got to scale back a little bit because I don't know what it takes to support that much payroll at this point. So it's kind of like reevaluating, getting feedback, stepping back if you need to, which doesn't necessarily make everyone always happy with you, but it makes for a more stable business. So I think it's worth it in the long run.
So having a team of buyers, are you actively taking out any of your buyers or do you?
Yep. I still work with buyers. I really enjoy working with buyers. I have a coach and they tell me that I shouldn't work with buyers, but I like it. So I'm going to keep doing it. Not at the same scale. Like my husband and I have done like 3 million in buyers in a month, like literally 12 military buyers at once. It was kind of a lot. We need like a lot of childcare, household help and support. And I realized that I need to spend more time with my family. But in the beginning, I was just trying to build like an empire for them.
I'd love to dig deeper into the coach. How long have you had a real estate coach and sort of? Yeah.
Like 4 days now. So.
Oh, you just started with the coach. Okay. Yeah. So how did you know you got to the point where you needed a coach or wanted a coach to kind of upgrade your business?
So I tried a couple different coaching companies that weren't necessarily a great fit for me. So I was still kind of passively looking. I had a few calls and most of them were just really salesy. And I'd really like to be treated like a person with my own opinions, my own needs, I don't like to be like hyper sold. That really grosses me out. I don't do that to people. So that's why it took me a while to find a good fit. And I'm with Workman Success Systems now. And I'm enjoying it so far. It seems like they have a good system in place to help me scale. Just met my coach a couple of days ago. She's been there to talk me through some kind of tough situations. So far it's going well. I'm hoping they can help me execute a business plan, a financial plan, and really start to treat this as an enterprise.
Yeah.
That's something that Alan and I have been talking about as well. It's like you gotta step up, and you have to at some point you go from being just an agent and making a living to like treating this as a business, right? And the way you would treat any other business. And of course, one of the first things you got to have is a business plan, right? Like, what are we doing? What is the goal? What's the end game?
Like, that's not really part of it. Is I started out thinking this is like a well-paid job. It's not that at all. This is a business that has expenses. trying to hold on to every cent of your commission is really not the way to do it right, and to practice fiduciary necessarily, because you have to put that client before yourself. And if you're not like putting money into staging, into advertising, you're just trying to keep it for yourself, well, that seller is going to ultimately net less from their property, and it's going to hurt your brand. So overall experience, I think, matters to me more than holding on to every cent.
Yeah, I think that's great. And we probably have some top producing agents here who are saying, oh, I don't need a coach. And sort of the way I've had it explained to me is, Michael Jordan, sure, he had a coach that coached the team, but he also had a personal coach, a strength coach, stretching coach, a foul shooting coach, defensive coach. Like he was the best. And he could say, I'm the best basketball player, but he also had personal coaches to help his weaknesses and also strengthen his strengths. And so...
Yeah, totally. It makes so much sense to have a coach. Like, people hire realtors because they don't know what they don't know about real estate. It's not necessarily that they have no knowledge, they can't understand how it goes, but you want someone who has that feedback for you. Like, hey, I'm seeing this from the outside looking in, and we don't necessarily see our blind spots. So I think it's important to have someone who does, whether that be a coach or a mentor. And I think it makes sense to have a coach who's paid, because a mentor can't necessarily spend that amount of time and accountability, and people behave a little bit better and try to give value once you pay them. So I think the arrangement makes sense.
So you've scaled pretty well in, 5-7 years of being a realtor?
Oh, it's been like since 2019. It's been like maybe 2.5.
Jeez, Steven, 3.5. This is amazing. This is skyrocketing. Wow. Okay. So 3.5 years, and one, you've got a team of people, and now you've got a coach. What are your goals? Where are you trying to scale to? What's the dream?
So I would like to do 100 million a year. That was my goal originally. COVID changed that a little bit, and now I've seen that I might want more of a lifestyle rather than just to hit certain numbers. Right now, my short-term goal is to create a business that doesn't need me every second to push things through, make sure things are followed up on and happen. And part of that might just be me giving up control, but I would like to have a vacation maybe for a week and come back and still have a business.
Right.
Yeah. I think coaching is good for that kind of stuff, because I feel like when you're working with a coach, they can kind of advise us on like, well, this is what you need to do in order to be able to hand off your business to your number two while you're on vacation, right? Whoever that person is. And just being able to learn how to let go, because I think a lot of us are control freaks. I mean, our business is, it's our business. It's everything, right?
Exists because we are the way we are, right? So that's been hard for me. And a lot of almost all my clients come to my team because they want to work with me specifically, but not necessarily understanding that I oversee everything, right? Like at the end of the day, it all stops with me, but that doesn't make me have the ability to show 5 houses all at once. You know what I mean? I have to have some support team on the ground, just like any business would have, where you wouldn't contact like Mark Zuckerberg if you need like Facebook support. But real estate's so personal, you know what I mean? So that's been the hardest part for me, is finding out how to like delicately do that handoff without hurting feelings. I don't want to make people feel unimportant. And I do talk to clients of other realtors with teams, and it seems like they're like, oh, I was pushed off to another team member, they didn't want to work with me. That's not necessarily what it is, but there are teams that have tried to scale with like super new agents that shouldn't have been taking buyers up necessarily. They needed training before they got there, and our industry doesn't have the regulation, so it's like the consumer has a bad image of realtors, right? So when you put someone else in that place, they don't necessarily feel cared for.
I find that, like, I had an experience where I called somebody, and so I dialed his number. One of his team members answered a phone, and he said, hey, Dan is on another line right now. He can't take care of you. Is there anything I can do? And I said, no, I really need to talk to Dan.
Sure.
And he said, okay, cool. I'll have him give you a call. Within 2 minutes, somebody else on his team, a lady, called and said, hey, Dan is tied up. I want to help you right now, so let's talk through whatever questions you have, right? But she wasn't just a person that going to kind of give me a runaround. She really knew the business 100%.
Okay.
And so at first I kind of felt a little bit put off. I'm like, why is she calling me back? I specifically said I wanted to talk to them. But within a minute, she won me over because she was on it, right? I could tell immediately she was just as much of a decision maker as Dan was, right?
Okay.
And that was a pretty good little lesson because, you know, I felt like I need to talk, and then I was like, no, this is actually a really good lesson. You know, I need to implement, I need to steal this because it worked really well.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Someone who has like the personality to quickly build trust, get across that they're as smart as the equal, right? The one that you want to talk to, and that they can help solve your problem.
And I also think that it comes down to, like, when you are building a team, it's not just about putting bodies into the seats, right? You've got to have people that are like 100% your people, right? Like if you are like the super crunchy realtor, you know, you can't have somebody on your team that's going to be like completely opposite, right? Because if you're going to be attracting that type of a clientele, then everybody on the team kind of has to have the same vibe. And that's an interesting thing to think about when we're hiring people. I mean, you don't want people that are exactly like you, because you've got to have people that have different strengths, right? Somebody's got to actually do some systems and keep stuff together while you're out getting deals in. Yeah,
do you use
cool
any
stuff.
software tools or sort of third-party products that sort of keep your life organized?
So we use SkySlope for transaction management. That's really helpful. My brokerage has a CRM called Contractually that we are starting to implement, but I'm really basic. Like I use Google Sheets, I use Excel, I use Scratchpad, a paper, and that's good enough for me for now. I just like to keep it simple.
Yeah, and how do you run your team meetings? Do you guys do a daily check-in or weekly or?
We don't actually. We have a Facebook group in which we're constantly collaborating in. We've had a Slack channel. Facebook was the simplest, made the most sense. But no, we have meetings like once a month. We have a training if we need to. And we have a weekly check-in card that they can give to us, let us know if they're prospecting. That's only if they want the accountability. What I've learned is not every team member wants to crush it in real estate. They don't want to go be you. They don't want to be the top producer. They can get enough business where they're happy with that. They're building slowly, sustainably, and that's okay. So I don't push my motivations onto them. I'm more here to support if that's what they want.
You sound like a great team leader.
Not sure about that. I'm trying. I do my best. I haven't really had a leadership role before, so it's very humbling, to say the least.
Now,
I love it.
How long does a typical transaction take in Hawaii? I here in the States, it's usually 30 days, but I heard Hawaii's not that.
No, same. We can close in 30 days, even less. If it's cash, we can close 2-3 weeks. Obviously, really big prices, so loans are more common. But 30-day close is about the standard.
And you guys are also seeing like the inventory crunch that we're seeing here, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
Is there one item where you're like, I wish we, like a big difference in Hawaii that doesn't exist anywhere else? Something that you're like, that.
Yeah. Okay. So for sure, like I have a client who bought a house last year for like $760,000, right? They were like, wow, that's a lot of money. You know, that was not what they were prepared to spend. Like young, successful, professional couple, but probably more likely on the mainland would have spent $200,000-$300,000 for their first home. So they spent $760,000. A year later, I could list that home for $1.1 million just within a year. So that kind of appreciation and life-changing money, like that's why I do what I do. I've never seen anything like it. And the ability for a veteran to get in 0 down or very little down payment at these prices, and they're still appreciating like 4 to 7% per year. It's really life-changing money.
Okay, and is there like volcano insurance?
No, we don't have volcanoes on Oahu. There's like one on Big Island, and there's you know what? That's why I don't do the other islands, because there's volcanoes, there's all this other stuff that I'm not familiar with. My island has never had a recorded hurricane in history, So a lot of people have questions about that, but that's not something like we have any data on. General homeowners insurance covers most of that stuff. But
some flood zones and stuff like that.
Yeah, flood zones are different. Like the closer you are to the beach, I had a client looking at buying a $2 million property in the water, and the flood insurance was $700 a month.
Whew. Yikes. Yeah.
Wow. That's an HOA payment plus taxes
on that
plus
property.
Yeah.
But we have the lowest property taxes in the country. Like a $600,000 house might just be $100 a month in property taxes. So it makes it very favorable to buy in, high appreciation, low property taxes, and we also have really low homeowners insurance. I mean, I pay like a third of what we paid in Florida for homeowners insurance and taxes.
Yeah, Florida is expensive on homeowners insurance for sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to dive into, you mentioned, you've got a family and you're running the team and your husband is in it.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about like just the nitty gritty of your days. Like how do you schedule your time? How do you juggle being a mom and a business owner and like all of it at the same time?
So I'm definitely not typical, and it's always tough to tell my story because people are like, oh, Kelsey did it, why can't I do it? They're like, okay, well, she doesn't schedule her days. This girl has no business plan. She has no background in this. She just went from 0 to 100. You know what I mean? I don't have a plan. I pretty much just live my life. Like I talk to people that I meet. I prospect. That comes naturally to me. I don't schedule it. If I want to take the day off and just watch Netflix, like that's exactly what I do.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's nice. I like it.
All while living in Hawaii.
Yeah. I mean, I do work a lot, and because I don't have a schedule, I work odd hours, right? Like I'll be like up at like 11 talking to a client, maybe negotiating a deal. If the other agent even wants to talk to me at like 9 p.m., I'm down to do that. So yeah, I typically wake up at like 9 o'clock, start my day, go to bed when I want to, but I work on and off throughout the day.
But were you able to do that once you had a team? Once you had some other?
I always did that. Yeah. So I mean, it helps that I have my husband for sure, because all the background stuff, like he can pretty much run. But he was doing that before he officially became a realtor. In Hawaii, you don't have to have a license to do transaction management. But I did this business because I wanted that flexibility. So I made that a point to just live my life how I wanted from day one.
I do think it helps when you're in the business to have your spouse in the business with you as well, because then it kind of at the end of the day, you don't necessarily have to tell him what kind of a crazy day it was. He just kind of like, yep, I know that deal blew up and that roof, fell off the house. Like you guys are kind of in it together. So it's a little bit less of like, oh, you need to spend time with me, or, you're so busy, or your work is everything, because we're always on, like you said, it's kind of just.
And I hear that from other professionals too. Like I've seen a lot of divorces happening during COVID, real estate professionals, loan officers. It's been kind of crazy, and also I don't think a rational person would put up with what I expect from my husband, right? So I'm like, hey, go do this now, go write this offer. Like you can't ask someone to do that if they would like to have a life and have a 9-to-5 job. So I don't see it working any other way.
Yeah,
I had the opposite experience. My wife and I started out as a real estate team, and that lasted maybe 6 months, and it was like. That's all we talked about was work, and it was like we need to have separate lives. And then when we revisit each other, see each other at dinner, we can share our lives, right?
And I'm not saying it's pleasant at all. Like it's super hard. Like we fight like cats and dogs, but this is just like establishing our business. Sometimes I wish it had gone another way, but he works so well. Like everything I'm not good at, that's exactly what he is. Yeah. So that's really helpful. My husband's like super nerdy. He's a physicist, scientist, not really a people person, but he's extremely detailed and like going over a contract, meeting timelines, and we're like yin and yang in that sense.
And I think it's when you guys are both in it together, I would think that you guys care equally about every client. Right? It's not like that he's going to make $50 per transaction and your commission is $5,000, right? Like you guys are in it, and like every deal is super meaningful. So sometimes having, a family member in it with you the urgency is just, it's not like, well, yeah, it is 9 p.m., but
right.
that's where the next, mortgage payment is coming from. So come on, pick up the phone.
Yes. So it definitely humanizes them. And my husband, like, as much as he's not a huge people person, just because he's scared of mean people, which, real estate has some of those, like, people. There's a lot of big egos in this industry, but my clients are like, they're good as gold. They are amazing. And we like to have, they're our new family here in Hawaii. Like, if we do a one, we're bringing them gifts for the baby shower. I mean, spoiling them, taking them out to dinner, staying in touch. And that's what we love the most about the business.
I love it. That's wonderful.
Do you see a lot of investors investing in Hawaii? Is it like an Airbnb investor out there? Is that the play, or?
So not anymore. Our Airbnb restrictions have changed. That was really hot right as I got into real estate, but I wasn't at the point where I was talking to investors. Like, new realtors pretty much work with residential home buyers, and that's exactly what I did. I wanted to get into Airbnb, and then all of a sudden we had a huge change where unless you have a conforming certificate to do an Airbnb, you can't go under 30 days. So we had a massive sell-off. It didn't really affect the market too much in that sense, as those are still very desirable residential properties, but it was to the point where you can get your hands on one because it was more profitable for a business to own than like a residential home buyer. But once they came on the market, residential buyers were still paying top dollar, and then if they were VA, which we have a lot of military here, they could get a loan, no money down. So it kept the balance in the market in that sense. I work with some flippers that I find deals for, but there's a lot of risk, of course. Like, if you're getting a hard money loan for like $800,000 at like 10%, everything really has to go perfectly, or you have to have deep pockets or a strong network to make sure that it's not the best for like the beginner investor. And that's why I've started my journey on the mainland. Hopefully bring it back here one day because I know this market, but for now it's really not a fit.
Right. Yeah, that's so interesting because almost everything is at a high price point.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I helped someone buy a teardown for $500,000. So like, you really have to have the skills of a general contractor, right? It's not like you're going in, putting some pretty cabinets on some paint. Like, these are huge deals, and if you don't know how to price them enough, you could run into a structural problem and then be like, okay, it's going to cost me money to get rid of this burden of this house. So it's kind of tricky.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, let me just get this, this fixer-upper for $1.3 million.
I'll tell you, it's in the land, right? So if you calculate perfectly what it's going to take to repair that house, like, you can quickly get yourself in bankruptcy or owing money to your investors or your hard money lender. And relationships here matter more than anything. So people will take losses just to pay people back. It's a small island. We all know each other. We all talk to each other. We're going to hear if you do somebody wrong. So you have to be super careful with that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. It probably feels like a small town wherever you go, just based being on an island. Right?
For sure. Yeah. Especially in real estate. Like, Oahu is small. It's an even smaller Oahu real estate community. I can't go anywhere without seeing like 5 realtors that I know or a loan officer, which I kind of like. It made me feel more connected to the island, because before that it just felt like a big city to me. I felt like, isolated.
Right. And you don't miss Florida anymore by any means.
No.
So tell us, what was your most interesting deal so far? Have you had anything fun, any kind of a war story to share?
Yes, I have one right now with beautiful, amazing clients. They're so sweet. They couldn't be more perfect. But it's been a transaction from hell, not because of a bad seller. I mean, the seller's agent is amazing too, but we're having trouble closing a permit, and we should have been closed a month ago easily. When we opened escrow, they said no worries, like, it was a flip, right? So this is why investors have to be so careful. So the permits weren't closed. The driveway is wide open because the permitting department said, if you're going to pour a non-like material, if you're going to do concrete instead of asphalt, which was there before, we needed to come inspect the rebar. So they haven't made the appointment. There's like a tarp over the edge of the driveway, but this house was totally flipped, like perfectly livable. It's like $1.85 million, and they went $300K over asking price to even get it.
Wow.
I don't know how long the escrow will go on. I got them early occupancy, which is really the best I can do, but a rate lock at that price point is just insane. You know what I mean? So it's like we're about to the point where the rate lock's going to come up. The investor is in a tough spot. They have to sell this property to us, but they also promised that it would be closed permits, which it's very hard to promise, right? Like, I'm very understanding of that. We're probably the 50th worst, like, bureaucracy in the state. Like, people, even top investors, don't really pull permits. So when you do things the right way, in a way you kind of get punished too. So I don't know if they'll ever do it this way again. They'll probably make sure permits are closed before they get on the market, but it's kind of where we are too. It's like very open-ended, so it's been tough.
Well, that's why you make big ones, Kelsey.
Yeah, I realize it. I'm like, not going to cut my commission. Like, I'm worth it. And then the good thing is that this client gave me a referral in escrow for another multi-million-dollar buyer. So I'm like, I'm going to do it right, give them the best service. But when I go to a listing appointment, if they're like, oh, you're not as cheap as this person, I'm like, yep, like, I'm not. That's okay, right? And it doesn't bother me at all if I don't get the listing, because I know what I do and I know my value.
I love that.
That's
attitude.
important. That's important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That goes a really long way. Especially, like, there is so many, iBuyer programs, and everybody's cutting their commissions left and right. And then there you are. It's like, nope, this is my fee.
Exactly.
There's only so much of me that can go around, right? So it's
so,
if it's not you, somebody else.
And we can't work with everyone, right? And the good thing about Hawaii, in a sense, is we don't really have that iBuyer stuff. It's too expensive. Like, they can't come buy a house for cash $300,000. Like, we're talking $700,000 plus. So not much competition with that, but we do have so many realtors who, like, they're like, oh yeah, I might as well do that for 2% or 1%. Like, one deal a year is enough. It's their part-time job. To me, this is a business. Excuse me, I have to be profitable. So I know my numbers. I know what it takes for me to run this as a business. If I don't do that, I can easily go out of business. And my costs monthly before I make $1 are about $12,000 a month. And my clients directly benefit from all of that marketing, all the advertising, my coaching, everything that I do to make myself a better agent. So I'm not the cheapest, I'm not the most expensive, but I wouldn't mind being the most expensive, because I think my value is there. Just like, you don't want to go with the cheapest attorney, the cheapest, like, dental surgery person.
No, not really.
I found the
Cheapest knee surgery?
Yeah,
no.
And that why it's different when it comes to real estate. But when I'm shopping for a service, I'm about experience. I like luxury. I'm okay with paying a little bit more to get what I want. So I like clients who understand the relationship, understand the value of what I bring, and it just makes my business that much better.
And I find the clients who want to find the cheapest realtor, they're the worst clients. Because then, the most demanding, and every house they look at, they want to get it lower. Every inspection item, it just never ends, and then they're never appreciative. They never say, "Thank you for getting me there." It was you never did enough for them, and then whatever amount.
You can never do enough. Nobody can. So you have to be okay walking away with that at some point. Right. When I was new, I would take huge discounts on deals. I just wanted the deal. I just wanted to get the experience. But now that I'm a little bit aged in the industry, I know different profiles of clients. I know how I am when I spend money on a service and how I act. And I like to work with clients that will be like me.
And I've noticed with some of my real estate agents, I've kind of had to, especially right now with, some value appraisals are not coming in at purchase price, right? And so some of my real estate agents, the first place they go is cutting their commission, and I've kind of had to be like, hold your horses. Right. We can work this out. Yes. Keep your money, honey. Like, just don't throw that commission away immediately. It's like, oh, I'll cut my commission. Here's 2%. I'm like, no.
Exactly.
Hold your horses. Let's figure out a different way.
That's okay. But deals right now aren't easy, right? They're more complicated.
Yeah.
We have stressed out sellers. People are getting greedy at the top of the market. They're wondering, like, if it's going to change. I've never seen the behavior in my 2.5 years than I have now. So it's like we're earning every penny that we make. It's never been harder to get a deal. It's really tough out there for new agents, but I don't think not being profitable is the way to go. I mean, we make the big bucks because we pay MLS dues, we pay all of these things.
And in extreme markets is when you need the top talent, because in a really hot market right now, you need the best agents to, one, find the off-market deals, but two, negotiate the bidding wars. And in really, really low, terrible down markets, you want the best agents because you're desperate to sell your home and you need someone who's got that presence and longevity to kind of push you. So it's sort of the middle markets where the newer agents can thrive. But if you're at one extreme or the other, it's tough to be a newer agent for sure.
For sure. And that's why I was able to do well. I really came in at the perfect time. I know that I would have made it no matter what the market was. But yeah, now more than ever, you need someone who can bid those multiple offers against each other, pay for themselves as your advocate, someone who's been around, a broker's office you can walk into so there can be accountability. I mean, I have billboards at the mall. Like, you're going to see me. I'm around. I'm not just here to get money and then I'm going to go. When you're calling, like, oh, what about this about my transaction? I mean, that follow-up, that lifetime relationship really matters.
Well, that's great, Kelsey. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge and wisdom today on the Agent Upgrade podcast. This has been amazing, and congrats on your success in 3.5 years to really be killing it in an awesome market of Hawaii. You've got to be so proud of yourself. I'm really impressed, and I can't imagine, the agents listening to us right now didn't just take so much of this, your story, and made it into a motivation for themselves to just get out there and hustle and really just utilizing social media and Facebook like you've done to really create a name for yourself, but then a team, and now, got your sights for $100 million a year, and I have no doubt you're going to get there.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to meet you.
What would be a great thank you. What would be a great way for agents who want to maybe refer you business? They've got clients going out to Hawaii. What's a good way to reach out to you?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Realtor in Hawaii. My website is kelseyhawaii.com. I'm on Facebook as Kelsey Charles. Hit me up, send me a message. My number is 808-387-4354. I love to pay referral fees, so call me. I'll take good care of your clients, roll out the red carpet, and then hopefully we can create a relationship that lasts a lifetime.
Thanks, Kelsey.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.